for sure.
What are we on the time here?
It says after that up there, but
7 o'clock.
it says 7 o'clock on my,
Yeah, let's go with that.
so
And only Al's on the line? Okay,
Al's online and,
okay, let's open up the meeting.
okay, meeting's in order. Zoom and Al's on Zoom. Audience of citizens, we don't have any in our domicile here, so we'll dispense with that. Approval of minutes. From what I read, I read it once, but that was about a week and a half ago.
I'll
make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Moved by Lasker, second by Liam. All those in favor, aye.
All right.
Contrary mind, nay. Okay, minutes are done. All right, new business. And we have a moment, first subject matter is a moment of silence for Barry. He is reflected as being here at our last commission meeting, and unfortunately he passed away right after that happened. So we would have a moment of silence.
Suggest we have a whole minute, so we at least recognize him for his services to the,
I'll
to the
definitely
board.
recognize him for his service. Very good commissioner. So, minute. Okay. Reconvene.
Okay, after that, item 4.2 is the UCMR 5. As I mentioned earlier, several months ago, basically the UCMR is a monitoring requirement that EPA actually sends out containers to us. We actually have the results back. Came in about a couple weeks ago. The UCMR 5 includes 29 PFAS components and 1 lithium component. So we had 2 samples collected, one from the directly from the New Britain system off of the Chamberlain, off of the Christian Lane, and the other one off our well field. All results came in less than detection, so we're pretty cleared at this point in time. Now we will be testing again, and we're basically going to test for the Cromwell system as well, because we'll test in early May and at the end of May. That's when we basically put the Cromwell system on. So we'll have 2 tests from Cromwell, and then we'll repeat the tests that we had from Christian Lane and also from our well field. But so far so good. And Cromwell had indicated to me as well that resampling of their wells indicated that they were in compliance with the tentative regulation that was being proposed by EPA. So that was good to hear as well. So that data is encouraging.
That is going to be, it's being proposed right now for the level, but it is going to be.
It's not official at this point in time, but the level that they said we are well in compliance at that particular level, so it's not a problem.
That's state of Connecticut test?
No, it's EPA.
Oh, EPA.
EPA has laboratories throughout the entire country, and then so their laboratory did the analysis. 4.3, Cromwell Fire District. It consented to help with StanChem. StanChem needed fire protection. They wanted a 12-inch line off of our 12-inch line, and that to me would create a serious problem for our distribution system in East Berlin. So At Berlin Street, at the end of Berlin Street, there's a hydrant on one side, which from Cromwell Fire District, and we're on the opposite side with a hydrant. We were looking at the costs of potentially connecting. However, StanChem, and we would have done it through a loan through the State Health Department, and the State Health Department had agreed to it, but StanChem decided not to. And as a result of that, does not want to do it at this point in time. We thought it was kind of sad because it was a pretty good deal. It would have given us another connection with Cromwell at another location. Plus, on top of that, they would have provided fire protection for them. They currently use the Mattabesset River, which I don't know is not necessarily, StanChem does, and it's not necessarily reliable. As you know, rivers can dry up in the summer. They also have quality issues and so forth.
Was there a cost involved?
Oh, it's a substantial cost, about $1.6 million would have been the cost.
That would have been passed to them.
But it would have been shared by us, Cromwell, and StanChem. StanChem would have paid obviously a good portion of it, but it would have been a 20-year loan. So I think it would have been a 2%. It would have been a pretty good deal, but and we tried to talk them into it, and they decided not to.
They're using the water from the Mattabesset. Do they have a pond that
No, they actually, what they did is they dug out a hole that's about 40 feet deep right at that location, and they draw water from that.
40 feet deep, you can drain that in 2 minutes.
Well,
I mean, depending on how.
you're talking to somebody.
You're talking to fire hose, yeah.
You know, you start pumping out a fire hose probably.
The other
200
thing is
gallons
you're
a minute.
probably going to get a lot of material as well too, system as well. Anyway, we tried to talk them into it. The consultant for Cromwell tried to talk them into it, but they decided against it. That's where it stands. So it's a no-go. 4.4, I participated in the first time I've ever heard having it is a career day at Berlin High School. They had many individuals set up with the tables around there, and we set up a little table and went around. Lisa's husband, Charlie, basically had a table as well for construction purposes, and I think it came out pretty good. One positive from this is that one of the women from the high school, I think she's a teacher, had indicated that her son was looking for an internship, so he might be useful to us to try to put some together for a lead service line inventory. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but so that was actually a pretty good connection.
Oh, good.
4.5, the Mattabesset District 2023 invoice. We're looking at that right now, and that invoice, as I see it, is going to be close to $2.7 million. So it's increased by another $153,000. So it's a pretty sizable increase in the cost, and there's additional flows that have been created as a result of, we think, a lot of I&I that's coming in. I don't know if I want to say too much about this at this point in time, other than the fact that it's created a problem. The Mattabesset has indicated that they want to schedule a meeting to discuss it. I think April 16th, they're looking at setting a schedule for that meeting and also an agenda. And what they want to do is include us, the other two districts, Worthington and Kensington, and discuss the possibilities of trying to reduce the flows into their system, or what actions could be taken to reduce the flows. So that April 16th meant, plus on top of that, there's been an issue with the discharge from the Berlin pump station into their main trunk line. Apparently, our discharge into that trunk line, when all three pumps are pumping, creates a surcharge into the pipe where it backs up and flows out of the pipe. That's another concern that they have. However, this is all related again with the I&I, because when all three pumps are pumping, they're pumping at maximum flow. So we need to discharge it, and the flow is much higher. So that's the other problem we have. So
Do we have any other options of discharging it in another location? Or is it just that's what it is? And they want to talk to us
that's
about
the
it?
only way I can see it, but we'd have to talk about what other mechanisms might come up. I don't know if this is going to require a study. Liam might know a little bit more about that with regards to the meetings you've had. But I know on April 16th, they're supposed to discuss.
I don't think that's going to be a good day because we have an engineering meeting.
That's what I'm talking about. April 16th is the engineering meeting, and that's on the agenda.
Oh, for the other two districts to come out with us?
No, to set the agenda for
Oh.
the meeting for the two districts.
Yeah, the
And they want to-
engineering.
They're willing to
They want to
recognize the
Oh,
other
they-
two.
Well, they want to include EPA and DEEP, and I told them that that's the only way to do it, because we're gonna gab around the table. We actually have to have the two agencies there as to understand what the problems are. You know, and this has been an ongoing issue right along for us, is the additional I&I coming from
So
the
the
other
16th
districts.
meeting is a meeting to schedule the other meeting.
Correct. To set
You
the
want to
agenda,
make sure that
to set
EPA
the
and
agenda,
DEP
and
are
it's
included in
also
it.
to talk about the flow metering that was done.
Right.
You-
We want to make sure
upgrades
that
that
EPA and
we've
DEP
did.
shows up.
But this has been going on for a year that I've been pounding on them. It's only because, in my opinion, that DEEP issuing their permits.
Yeah, the
Is-
NPDS permit, they haven't been issued an NPDS permit, and there's some
This'll be the fourth
speculation
year.
that it might be connected to the fact that they're discharging more into the Connecticut River without completely treating. And of course, when they
Well,
get,
they're obsoleted the plant.
well,
Essentially, that's what it is. A $110 million renovation is worthless.
well, not worthless, it
Not
isn't
worthless,
sufficient, I
but-
guess, maybe.
Well,
that's the way-
yeah, well, you're
Insufficient.
bypassing, yeah,
Definitely
made it
insufficient.
obsolete.
So, John Dunham, the director, the chairperson, and Art Simonian are looking at trying to set up a meeting where they would be able to try to get the other two districts involved and to discuss what potential options are there on the table. We just got notice that our new truck finally, after 3 years, been kicking around, finally is coming in next week. They're looking at updating it to put a compressor on there and a water storage tank to include it. It's got a
The one
boom.
we looked at.
Yeah, we got a boom on there, and it's about $125,000. That's the last time I looked. So that was,
This is the one that's going to replace the truck that's got the big thing in the back of it.
yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, that truck there is okay. We got another truck that's over 100,000 miles, and so potentially we're going to look for another truck as well, because they've all got quite a bit of mileage on them.
That's
But
local-
anyway,
that's
the newer
local miles,
one
too.
with it's going to have a bucket on there, so that'll be good. Not a bucket, a crane.
Crane. All right.
Okay, old business, Baxter Avenue. Finally got the new meter installed, operational, and we've been looking at it, and to our surprise, it's still measuring very high. I give you an example back when we had that heavy rain a couple weeks ago, early March. The flows we measured were over 4-point-something million gallons, and then basically after 3 days, it went down to about 3.5 million. So it was a phenomenal flow for that period of time. So, and obviously at 700,000 gallons per day consumption for Kensington, that shows you that this is a significant portion of I&I coming in there. So, but it is operational. We are now using it, and the fact that Wright Pierce did so much work with it, it's very defensible in the results that it's getting. So I feel pretty confident and happy about that. It cost us quite a bit. It cost us almost $85,000. In that process, we also did the camera work, and so that 30-inch line that goes down to Farmington Avenue still has one gusher. We're trying to get that repaired, but we can't get the company to come in. But other than that, shows that the line itself is still in pretty good integrity. So that was good to hear as well. Deming Road, we are now getting a more active schedule there. Circulate these pictures for you just to give you an idea of the work that's being done. Nickerson, the contractor, I'm extremely happy with. They've actually started doing some work. They're doing one of the first things they're going to be doing is bypassing that whole system. They're going to be pulling out the old pumps. Our guys, it isn't. We haven't crossed over to the board where there's a point where they're going to take on all the responsibility. So probably within the next week and a half, it'll be Nickerson's completely responsibility. So our guys won't have to go in there into the pit to clean the pumps or anything else. those pumps will be removed, and a bypass pump will go back into and discharge into the big trunk line on the opposite side of the Mattabesset River. So I'll be happy to see that, so the guys don't have to go back in the confined space.
How big is this cement line here?
Cement line. I don't know, that's an 8 inch probably. That's not a line. That holds up the
No.
shoring. Oh, that.
That's a cement pipe.
I don't know. That's about 24 inch. That goes into the. That's going to be the new manhole.
Right, but I see a cement pipe.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Who owns that?
We do.
That's a sewer pipe though.
Oh yeah, this is the whole thing. So this is with the bypass. So yeah, let's share that with you guys. Done.
So when's it gonna be completely finished?
By October.
Wow.
After they finish that, they'll be putting in, they'll be digging up the space, digging it all out, and then putting in a vault for the base and then a vault for the top, so that it's all precast. So that's one thing. So that should go a lot faster. They've accumulated all the materials and supplies, as far as I can tell, including the generator. Generator had originally a 58-week delay time, and turned out to be only about 42 weeks. Still long, but not too bad. So we have a generator already. Item 5.3, lead and copper. I met with Connecticut Water. Connecticut Water obviously is doing the lead and copper inventory as well, like all utilities are required. It's due, the report to the health department is due October 16th, 2024. The fellow that I said that I touched base with from the Berlin High School career day, met with him today. Sounds like a very good candidate. Hopefully it'll work out. We'll be having him put in information into the Excel spreadsheet. The inventory is basically, the whole scenario of this is to basically try to eliminate lead into the lead service lines. I'm going next week to the health department to do a workshop. And then the idea here is with Connecticut Water Company, since they do our billing, they can actually convert a lot of our customers to their, because they have to do it anyway, convert it, and then put it on the same spreadsheet that we can have it. This young man can come in and then complete the spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, plus on top of that, do some research for us and help us out from that perspective so we can comply with the requirement. Then the requirement is such that after the inventory is due and submitted by October this year, you have 3 years with it, which to actually complete a more formalized inventory and then address the systems that are unknown. Pretty much, they use this as a cutoff. From 1990 on, we can be pretty sure that we're not going to have any kind of lead issues, lead solder or lead pipe or lead goosenecks or anything else with having to do with lead. So that's one thing. So that married with the stuff from the what do you call its office, Joe's office there for the assessor's office. Basically, they take a look at when the buildings were actually built, so we can eliminate a whole bunch of them and say after 1990 these are okay. Prior to 1990, we're going to have to look at it and get more detail. Our vulnerability, obviously, from years and years of past years anyway, is the issue of East Berlin. East Berlin is the same vintage as Worthington and Kensington, and I'm sure we have lead. In fact, we do. We have lead goosenecks there, and we probably have lead pipes in that area as well. So we have to look at that somewhere down the road. And that was something I originally looked at anyway, and figured that we needed to replace and either replace or reline.
These other two districts are under the same guidelines for this?
Yes. So I haven't heard much from them, but on that, I'm just keeping to my own. I got enough work to do on my own to
Chance to
make
get
sure that
copies.
we comply with this. So
Do we have to interact with them?
no, not that I know of. So No,
our
yeah,
mandated area is us, period.
yes, yeah.
We don't have to.
Primarily,
concern ourselves
it's our own area, service area. And as I
The
said,
shared areas.
yeah, and typically, East Berlin is the oldest. There's no question about it. There's 1,800, 1,700 homes there, so I'm sure that there's some lead issues there as well. The last item on the old business is Deming Road meter. We because there was a problem outside. The meter is located right in the middle of the street, underground, obviously, and we had Knapp Engineering come in and replace the meter because the old meter was not functioning. Art Simonian from Matabassett called me and said that he'd been getting strange readings from it, and sure enough, yeah, the readings were way out of whack. So we looked at it and said we would replace it. We finally got it replaced, and it's installed and operational. As far as we can tell, it's working fine, and Art's all set with it as far as I know as well too. So
That was our cost.
yes, unfortunately, it's our cost, but that we get to replace it. There's no question about it.
Is it our meter?
Knapp Engineering, excuse me.
Is it our meter? I mean,
It's our meter, but he reads it basically because he uses it for developing the invoice that he sends us every year. He was using averages based on the previous 5-year averages to fill in the gaps where the meter was not functioning. And that's typically what he does.
How long was it done non-functional?
I would say probably about a half a year or so, because he had called me earlier last year and then gave me numbers that didn't make sense. So, and I told him about that. So he went back to the drawing board and looked at it, and then called me back and said, I think you got to replace the meter. So that's what we ended up having to do. So, okay.
Someone wants to make a motion to go into executive session.
Yeah, Jim and Al are online, so I guess we could do that. The only thing we wouldn't do is tape.
Right, I'll stop both recordings after someone makes a motion.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second it.
Second by Tom.
Give me half a second, give me half a second.